Good. How you doing? I'm probably there was I said I'm probably beaming a little red. I'm looking up at my screen and I look like I'm a little red in the face, so I do apologize. I got some sun yesterday. Um, so yeah, yeah, you bet. You can't spend the time and money on that thing. You got to get the last few days of summer. You got to take advantage of them. I'm a little frustrated with the chemistry. I'm going to take water sample back in today to get tested again. And I feel like this process shouldn't be that hard. The guys that I talked to at Nelson's pool, they're like, no, this is common. People bring water samples in 2-3 times a day and they still can't get it under control. And it's not bad. Like I don't have like algae blooms in my pool, but like I'm kind of one of those guys that wants to have everything in line, and it's not in line, and it's really kicking me off. But I can't get my alkalinity under control, and I feel like that's causing me to blow through a lot of chlorine, which again is okay. It's a good problem. Not a good problem to have, but it's not a bad problem. I mean, there's certainly a lot worse things that can happen with a pool. But I last weekend, before the weekend, I dumped 4 gallons of muriatic acid into the pool. And like I swear, like you would think that would probably do it. The math on my output when they do the water samples, they give you that output sheet, tells you what to do. That's what said it would take care of it. And it lowered my pH, but didn't do a damn thing to the alkalinity. Didn't even touch it. I mean, didn't even dent it. So I'm left with a high alkalinity pool, but everything else is in balance, so it's fine. But like I said, it's just one of those kind of annoying things that you just want to get taken care of somehow. So I should have. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and friends of ours, they came over yesterday, and we used to always go swimming at their house. They have a pool, and they're kind of, they're funny people. They're really funny. But the old man Jim there, he's your quintessential Wisconsin boy. Drinking the Keystone Lights, just like going out of style. But he comes over and he's like, all I do is just throw a whole bunch of freaking chlorine into the pool. Like, well, that's one way to tackle it. Just chlorine the crap out of it. But that's if you want to have the balance. You actually got to take the time to do all that chemistry and stuff. So I'm told that after a while, you get it in balance and everything's all good and harmonious, but it just takes time. So I'm on that train. So yeah. Yep, and you don't want them. You don't want them coming out of there like rubbing their eyes. Their eyes are all bloodshot. And then you're like, okay, I did something really wrong. Yeah, so didn't have that. So we enjoyed the time yesterday. It was good to have some friends over, some company, and smoke some ribs. So how about your week? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Nice. Sure. Well, those things grow like weeds anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Yeah, I'm excited for, fall is kind of my favorite season to do that. Of course we don't really know what's going to happen with football this year. Obviously, NCAA is kiboshed, but hopefully we can have some NFL football. And yeah, I don't think it gets any better than you wake up on a Sunday and you have a Bloody Mary and get the smoker rolling and do it like you said, pork butt, ribs, or whatever. Man, that's because we're now officially done with baseball, so everything's kind of slowing down now. So it's kind of nice to have those weekends now where you can back the train up a little bit and just relax a little bit and just you're not getting up at 6 a.m. and loading the car and getting on the road to get to the tournament at 8 a.m. So that's kind of nice. So, but you know that with hockey, you know how that goes. I mean, your season's just getting going. So mm, sure. No, no. It's interesting that baseball didn't do the in-house season, but allowed for travel tournaments, and hockey is not going to allow for travel tournaments, so play more of an in-house type. A little bit of an expanded bubble, yes, but still very much in its locality. It's interesting, but I mean, end of the day, I hope that you guys can have something, because I can attest from my family at least to have some kind of normalcy in amidst all this was I mean just I welcomed it with open arms. You knew the risks that were involved in it, but just to be able to do that, I think was very comforting amidst all this craziness. So I hope that you guys can have something. I really do. Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to leave that in there, and I think this would be really good for us to reflect on this every single time that we have this. Again, this is on the front cover, and for those of you that have missed the last week's, this I think is something that should be repeated. This is one that I'm considering putting on my wall. I think it's kind of just something to look at, and I think it's great. It sets the tone. Leaders are the ones who run headfirst into the unknown. They rush toward the danger. They put their own interests aside to protect us or to pull us into the future. Leaders would sooner sacrifice what is theirs to save what is ours, and they would never sacrifice what is ours to save what is theirs. This is what it means to be a leader. It means they choose to go first into danger, head first towards the unknown. And when they feel sure they will keep us safe, we will march behind them and work tirelessly to see their visions come to life and proudly call ourselves their followers. And I think this is, like I said, I think the world of this quote. I think this is great. I mean, it just is a snapshot in time of what a leader really does mean in this world today. So I love it. I think it just really sets the tone for no matter which chapter we're going to navigate through this book. It's a good way to start. So today we're going to talk. We're in chapter 2. Employees are people too. Again, we're still in that same section of our need to feel safe. So we're navigating in that realm today. On slide 4, the book starts out, the chapter starts out with the this Bob Chapman story, which I want to say I've read in probably 2 or 3 other books, the Bob Chapman story, about how he revolutionized a company called Barry Waymiller. It's quite interesting because his mindset of why laborers are different, why they are treated differently than your front office staff, your engineering staff, your sales staff. It is quite interesting because in I think even in this day and age, it's still that way in some facilities and some organizations, and it's really disheartening because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're signing the checks or you're scrubbing the toilets. You're all part of a team. If one person is not doing their job, it's going to fall apart. So it's very interesting to read through that example and some of the things that he had done. Just trying to make work feel less like prison and more like an enjoyable place to go. Because I think that's kind of what it boils down to the end of the day. If you're not feeling good about where you're working at, where you're going to work, you're obviously not going to put in 100% effort. So, oh really? Yeah. No, I've read it a couple times. I can't remember, off the top of my head, I can't remember where, but it's a big deal. It really started that whole entire motion of revamping manufacturing and how manufacturing is taught, because for the longest time, and I'll use the example of my previous employment. We were trained and taught that you came to work from 7 a.m., you had lunch at noon, and you went home at 5. It's the mindset, the training as you have, and you almost become almost like a zombie, like a machine, like a robot to do that. You're knowing that you have to punch in at 7, punch out at noon, punch back in at 12:30, punch out at 5, and it didn't matter what you had on your slate. It was just that was it. That's the only thing you were trained to think about. And so when I started really getting involved, I changed a lot of that, because it wasn't, you have to be flexible with people's schedules. You could squeeze actually more in a day if you actually change the hour window that people are working. If believe it or not, it doesn't have to be a 7 to 5. It could be, hey, maybe you 5 guys come in at 5 and you punch out at 3, and then you other guys, maybe you want to sleep later, you come in at 9 and work until 7. Well, you've just expanded your day by a 4-hour window. So now you're getting more done. So it doesn't work every time, but it does work out. But they also give the example of the gentleman who had to take time off because his wife was having surgery, and how the employees banded around him and wanted to donate their vacation time so that he was allotted more time with his wife who was recovering. And that was kind of like, whoa, we can't do that. There's no way that we're not set up in the system to be able to transfer that. Well, that's stupid in my eyes. I mean, be a freaking human. I mean, you got to change something in a computer system. That's asinine to think that you can't not do that. I understand the HR responsibilities and all that good stuff, but here, if you have an employee that's in dire need of something, and you have people that are stepping up to the plate to give what is needed, I mean, why wouldn't you change that clerical snafu that you can't change? It just makes no sense. So yeah, and that's I think that's what this chapter is really kind of about, is thinking less about manufacturing or whatever you're doing being such a mindless operation, and being more human and interacting more. So and some of the quotes here, the bottom, when you have people who trust you, they're going to do a better job for you to earn and keep that trust. So if you are in that leadership role, and you really have spent the time to gain the trust of those people, they're going to work like hell to make sure that they keep that trust of yours, and they're going to work like hell for you. So very, very, very important, I think. Yeah, and I think it's it is a psychological thing because I think you go into a job or you have a mindset of I don't care who I work for, I don't care who I work with. I'm just gonna go out and do my best because I want what's best for me. Or you have the mindset of I really like people that I work with. I enjoy my team, and I want all of us to do well. So I'm going to do my best for that. And I think that's you look at like what we have with Rosetta. I mean, our team is great. I think, and when I look at my day, and it's because what I do is I want everybody to succeed. It's not just me. I mean, it's I don't want to just take it and run with it. I want you to succeed. I want Maddie to succeed, and Chris and Jerry. There's really no need for any of us to ever really fight. Like just we're not set up that way. It's because we trust each other and we have that comfort and we have those feelings that. And and it's even beyond the sales team. It's you look at the ops, the engineering, all those guys too. I mean, it's a pretty nice, well-oiled machine. It's been set up that way. So you definitely feel that comfort and you feel that drive that you want everybody to succeed. No, that's exactly it. And it was kind of interesting when I took the job, and I'm sure you kind of thought that same way you're being hired in as an industry expert with other industry experts. So there is a general concern of hey, there might be a high level of testosterone going on here. You got some Brahma bulls going at each other. So, but it actually, yeah, yeah, yeah. But that it's kind of interesting how it all actually ended up working very well. I think to date it's actually worked out very well. So that's cool. Um, Another good quote here. Why can't we enjoy ourselves at work like we enjoy ourselves not at work? I think is a great quote. If you're spending, what is it? What is there's a fraction of how much time you spend at work of your entire life. It isn't somewhere like in the, half of your life is spent at work or something like that. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's an insane amount of number of hours that you spend at work. Whether you work mobile or you work at a factory or you work in a construction crew or landscape laboring crew, you spend an awful lot of time with those people. You spend an awful lot of time in that space. I mean, obviously, yes, you can leave that space and go to a different one if you're not, happy with what you're doing. But that is it. I mean, you're either on a quest for your entire life of something that's going to make you happy, or you're happy with what you have, and you need to find that. And that's, I'm not saying that there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, but you should, I think, when you're at work, feel as happy as you are not at work. I mean, it's a different happiness, but you got to be happy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Well, and I think you're spot on there. I think that the people probably have the greatest impact on how you feel about your environment. Um, I think that you could work at probably the most dangerous job, whatever it is these days. I don't know, bull riding, whatever. As long as you're comfortable with your team, there's no reason why you can be happy. But twist that over. I mean, if you're working at probably the easiest job in the world and getting paid very well to do it, but you're working with a bunch of jerks, you're probably not going to be happy. And I think that dichotomy changes over time. I mean, I can tell you first and foremost, when I left college, I wanted a high paying job. I had a lot of debt. I had, you wanted to start your life, and the only way to really start your life is money. So you wanted a job with more money, and then it changed to I wanted to start doing projects that were meaningful and didn't really care as much about the money. And now I just want to be happy and work with a bunch of people who work as hard, if not harder than I do, all for the same goal. That's it's interesting how that dichotomy can change over your lifespan and really what your true interests are in your work career. It's very interesting, I think. So slide 5, yeah, we're talking, this truly human leadership, which is a very a good title, to be human with your leadership techniques is very much what this book is about being human, and not being such a pedestal holder above everybody else. So this is a great start here. When the people have to manage dangers from inside the organization itself becomes less able to face dangers from the outside. Very, very true. Very true. If you're constantly battling people not showing up for work, people fighting with each other, a lot of the blame game. Well, John did this yesterday and you should discipline him for doing that. Or, Sally punched out 15 minutes early. You're dealing with a lot of that grade school type mentality. Nobody's going to feel good. And then all of a sudden you have an absolute train wreck come in, say a job went south. Well, Mrs. Smith is pissed off because she's got efflorescence all over her walls and she wants them taken care of now. Now it becomes a matter of, as a leader, who are you going to ask to do this job and actually rely on it getting done properly and not treating said client like they were a disease. So that's it's an example about this is kind of, and I've seen this happen. It's very interesting when you have a solid team. Problems just roll off the desk. They get taken care of, they get addressed. But if you're not solid, those problems really infiltrate in further and further, and just amplify the fact that you're not organized. You're having issues with personnel. That all just gets blown up to an extreme level. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I have too. I've walked these boots, and it's amazing how an outside problem, if you aren't really operating internally well, how hard it is to really overcome that outside problem. You know, it should be just like I said, rolling right off your desk. You know, this happened. This is how we're going to take care of it, and we're going to get it done tomorrow or the next day. But it's amazing how it literally almost cripples you as a company if you're not all there internally. It just literally does cripple you. I mean, you're starting like, well, who am I going to ask? Well, John's pissed off yesterday because his job went long. Rob's upset because he's got some home problems. So I don't know who do I. Well, I'm probably just gonna have to take care of it with myself. Okay, I'm gonna call my wife. Hey, Ashley, sorry, I'm not gonna be home tonight because I got to go take care of that. So then she's pissed off at you because now you're missing your son's little league game. You're not gonna, and they haven't seen you in 5 days, and that's generally what happens. I mean, right? I mean, in a small business, that's what happens. You just become so crippled, and it's absolutely. I mean, it's disheartening. It's disgusting. I think you have to be able to live your life too. So if you're not together as a team internally, you're just going to get destroyed over time, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's why I pose this question, what are your internal dangers? Do you have internal dangers? If you're listening to this, I challenge you to spend some time in reflection to write them down, to identify them, and to address them. I don't think there's any job or any career path that is free from dangers, internal dangers. They're always present. But it's how you identify them and how you knock them down, I think, is what makes the difference. Sure. It's a good question. I mean, and oftentimes you don't, you're afraid probably to answer them because they may be something that could get you fired. Could get you low on the totem pole. But if you're not comfortable within your organization identifying them and bringing them to the right people for to be addressed and to be solved, maybe the organization isn't right. Maybe it isn't right. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable, and that's it's there on the bottom line. People need to feel safe at work, and if they don't feel safe at work, then they're not going to work hard for you. They're not going to put in their full time with you, and it's all just going to internally implode on you. So, like I said, I think the people can be as happy as they want to be with the most dangerous job out there, as long as they feel safe and they feel comfortable. It can happen. So we're left with this last quote, the awesome responsibility, and it is an awesome responsibility because every single employee at any given time is someone's son, someone's daughter. Like a parent, a leader of a company is responsible for their precious lives. What does this mean? What does it mean? I mean, does it mean that we have to put everybody in full on football gear when they come to work every day? Do we need to pad the walls? Do we need to have sensitivity sessions every 5 days? No, that's not what that means. What it means is that you need to treat everybody from top to bottom like they are your son, your brother, your family member. They're not expendable as much as sometimes that's lost in manufacturing. Sometimes actual people that make stuff are thought of as numbers. They don't even have a name, they have a number. That mentality has to go away. And if that doesn't go away, then your organization in itself is not, it's not going to get anywhere. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 It is, yeah, yeah. It's that mutual respect, and if you don't have it, your employees aren't going to give it to you either. They don't respect a person who, for the lack of better terms, just walks around and shits on people. I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to. And I think if you listen to some of Simon's TED talks, and I'm a firm believer in this. And you hear this all the time, especially in manufacturing, is that good help is hard to find, and your labor turnover rate is so high. Maybe that's an indicator that you should start looking at yourself and not blaming society for your lack of help, because I think the help is there. I've always thought that. It's just a matter that we need to change our mindsets on how we do things. I lived that myself. I mean, we went through a good 3 to 4 years where we were just turning and burning people. I mean, you didn't know who you had in your shop 1 week versus 1 day. So, and finally it was time to, and it was actually one of Simon's talks that for me really turned it around for me to understand that, hey, maybe I need to look at myself and what I'm doing and change our procedures as far as hiring, firing, how we treat people. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not always about the paycheck. It's not always about that. People want to come to work and they want to feel like they're safe, like they make a difference in the world. They put in a good day's work. People want to feel those things. And if you're not giving them the opportunity to do so, then you're not going to be a successful person. So I will always, I always will get, especially when I work with some of the producers, it's always, I can't find good help. And I always kind of say, bull crap, the help's there. You just got to look harder. It's not an easy journey. I will admit that. It's not like it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s where you could just pick people off of a tree and put them into work. It's not like that. You have to work harder, but they're there. Trust me. Mm-hmm. It's not. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, right, and word gets out too. You're not on an island. People start talking about, Nate's landscaping service. God, they're a top quality organization. Let me tell you, I had a time where my son came down sick. My wife was working, and Nate said, "Yeah, sure, go take care of that. Family's more important." That is a huge difference, versus, hey, I don't want to go work for that errand guy because I had to take like 2 hours off to take my dog to the vet, and he reamed me a new asshole because I did it. And my manager that I work with is an absolute jerk. I wouldn't work there anymore. The reason why I work there is because of a paycheck. That's the only reason why I work there. So you think about those two scenarios. Those conversations are going on any minute of any day in this entire world. And if you're on the far end, the first end, you're going to get more people that are going to come in the door and say, "Hey, can I get a job application?" I don't care if you're not hiring. Just could you please just take my job application? Give me a call. First is the other end where you're sitting there saying, "I can't find good help. Good help is hard to find. I don't know. What do I do? Raise pay 50 cents? Sure, go ahead. Just keep raising pay. See how far it gets you." So. It's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic. So. Yep. Next week we're going to be navigating in chapter 3, belonging, which is it's kind of an extension on this one. Again, we're still talking about the team aspect, which is very synonymous throughout the whole entire book. So I think it's a shorter chapter, but there's a lot of good information in this one. So it'll be a good one to tune into. Check the calendar. Next week we're good. Okay. Thank you.